Hello, hello, and
Hello.
welcome to another episode of Diaries of a Six-Figure Coach podcast. I am super excited because I have another really beautiful guest here with me today. We've got Azra Lodora in the house, and I'm super excited that she's here because recently, maybe not even just recently, for quite some time, I have realized for myself that there is a very close connection between our ability to grow and scale our businesses and our nervous system and how we nurture ourselves and how we show up. And if you've been listening for this podcast for a while, you know that I talk about balance and I talk about it's not just about the money, it's also about the life that you're creating. And as somebody who's burned out again and again, I can tell you that I have tried it both ways and it didn't always go well. And so Azra and I connected over Instagram and we had a beautiful conversation. And she's a neuro-coherence expert, a holistic consultant, as well as a mentor. And she is also deep into guiding you in Ayurveda and nervous system and body optimization for leaders. And we're all leaders in our own right. So Azra, welcome so much to the Diaries of a Six-Figure Coach podcast.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, you're so welcome. I love having chats with just different women and entrepreneurs in my community that all bring different gifts to this world and helping their clients do different things while also navigating their own business journey, their own entrepreneurial journey. And I would love to know from you, how did you get started on this journey that you're on now with your business and what you're doing? And I also want to know more about neuro-coherence.
Yes, of course. So, well, it all started during lockdown. I had a hunch that I needed to move on to the online world and somehow bring all of my expertise and modalities that I'm certified in together and create something unique to the world. I knew I just needed to expand and serve more. So prior to that, I was working sort of on and off in the real world, so not online, but in outside online. And then, we just went through this massive transition of huge change. And so I had a lot of more time to just sit with myself and feel into where I am with my journey, my work. And I decided that I was going to start something online and begin my entrepreneur journey.
I love that. I love
Mm.
that. So were you doing what you're doing now online before in person? Is that kind of how that fits together? Or did you literally make a career shift?
So yes, I was doing part of it. And back in 2017 was when I was running courses back in London. I used to live in London, and I was running meditation and mindfulness courses, going around and giving talks about the nervous system regulation and stress management. So I was very much teaching CEOs, people with stress, with businesses and jobs that where they were really stressed out. And at the time, it was like a 3-day course I was running to small groups. But what I started noticing is on the last day of my course, these bigger questions would come up and it would turn into sort of a mentoring and coaching session. And so I've always been someone that's loved helping people. I've always been sort of the go-to person in my family amongst cousins that, people they would come to and ask for guidance. So it was that year where I started realizing actually I do have this natural counseling, mentoring side to me, which I really enjoy. Then I made some really big changes in my life. I've moved across country and there was huge changes on my personal life. So I had a bit of a break from running those courses. And then I transitioned into starting them again with the new place that I moved to. So I moved into the countryside, and then lockdown happened. So I then realized that actually I'm very, very passionate, and I've integrated Ayurveda into my life for more than a decade now. I certified in sort of the nutrition side of things. And there were all these components, there's all these multidimensional components to my work where I felt like, what if I can create something? What if I can create offers? What if I can create a movement and bring everything together? And so I could share all my gifts, because what I have come to realize from my own personal journey, when it comes to optimizing the body, and healing the body, it's not just one approach that we need to take, it's a multidimensional approach. And so, as a woman, especially, I feel like, the putting our bodies first and really prioritizing her has been something at the forefront of my journeys. So it all just, started brewing and coming together. And I decided to hire a coach at the time and get some help.
I love that. Smart move, I would say. I feel like so many of us try and like branch out into new things on our own. What made you decide to hire a coach and help you figure out how you can translate what you were doing in person for your workshops and your business? And what has that business journey been like? I mean, it's been a few years since the pandemic started. Like, what has that been like for you to bring your gifts out through the online space and serve a more global community?
So I'll be honest, it's been more challenging than I expected it to be. And why did I hire a coach? So as this, thought and this intention was sort of brewing and I was marinating in it, if you want to call it, I had somebody recommend a mentor or a coach, and I started following her online. By that time, I wasn't as active on social media. It was more about, having being connected to friends and family, really. There was no um, business sort of putting offers out there. None of that was present. So I started following this coach and mentor. I jumped into one of her masterclasses, and I hired her as one-to-one for support, because I realized there was a lot to learn. And I think one of the things that's been very apparent to me, it's been 3 years now, is that there's a lot of moving pieces to being an entrepreneur, yes, being a leader, yes, but also to our businesses. And as for someone that was clueless about that, I really felt like I needed that intimate support.
I love that you had that hunch, and that you decided to get that support. I definitely think that a lot of people underestimate how many layers a
Mhm.
business actually has and how much organization within yourself it takes to hold all the pieces of that business puzzle, right? Like, I think that it's kind of like you're saying with, our health and our bodies, it takes a multidimensional approach, right? It's like we often look at things as like, oh, I'll do this one thing and then I'll be healthy, right? Like, if I just eat salad with chicken, I'm going to be a healthy person. And it's like, that's like not at all like a nutritional fact, right? But we get this idea that if we just do this one thing, we'll be fine. And I feel like it's very similar in business. We sort of see one component of it, but we don't see all the moving parts and how they fit together. And it's also where I see people really struggle, because if your business isn't built where everything supports each other and you know how you can run it and hold it and manage it as you grow your business, it'll always feel hard or harder than it has to be. So I love
Yes.
that you brought that up. Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, it's interesting you touched upon that, because At some point, I would get really triggered by this word easy. It gets to be easy, it's easy. And there was this point in the coaching industry where this was promoted a lot. Now, I do understand and see that perspective, but I think the word easy and the experience of it is very subjective, and it depends on where you are in your journey. So for me, it was like, getting really tangible with my work and being able to market that, being able to turn it into offers, building an audience, building presence. And above everything, you also come across a new level of stuff to work through within yourself, because on social media you're more visible, you need to be more visible. And so it's so many different moving pieces that come together. And I genuinely believe that trying to do everything on your own is really not. You can do it, it is possible, but having the support, and don't get me wrong, some of those I made a lot of investment in my entrepreneur journey, in my journey at the beginning. And in fact, I might have invested too soon, too fast. And I think this one was one of the things that I fell into, that if I invest, I will move faster. Do you see what I mean? And that is true to a certain extent. When you have that, when you have the right level of support with someone who can see you and really see your work, and they're able to reflect that to you, yes. But also, I think trying to go too fast and investing in everything left and right can also be sort of jolting for the nervous system. And although I'm an expert in this, my expertise is in it, when it came to putting all the elements of my business together, I actually did this for a while, and I had to step back. I thought, what am I doing? What's the rush? Slow down. And I think being kind to ourselves is so important, and taking our bodies with us no matter what, knowing when it's time to slow down, and it's okay to go slow.
Yeah, I love this message, and I think that's so important. There's so many things that you shared just now that I want to touch on. But it's interesting what you say about the messaging with business gets to be easy. And I used that for a long time. And I look back, and I'm working on a post around the 5 like biggest mistakes I made in my marketing as I scaled up to 6 figures.
Right.
And that was one of them, because business, yeah, like I have a business background. I scaled a business to 8 figures. Like I understand business. I'm a strategic thinker. So yeah, business itself and strategies itself, to me, is the easy part. What's hard is showing up and doing the things. But what I also realized through that is that it does, it did feed into this messaging, and realizing that we can share our perspective, but that can be very triggering, right? And it's hard to learn something new. And I've realized this very recently, because I'm in the process of implementing something in my business I have never done before. And it's
Right.
been painful. Let me tell you, it's been painful. It's been feeling hard. I've been wanting to quit. I've been like, screw this shit. Like, I am done. I do not want to do it anymore. And it made me realize that the learning of all these things, like, it's hard. So yeah, maybe processes, businesses itself, yeah, it can be easy and simple. It doesn't have to feel like you're pushing shit uphill all the time. But yes, it's hard, and it requires effort, and it requires our willingness to show up for things we've never done before, and work through all the, like you said, like, we're facing different layers of what we put on ourselves that limit us. And
Mhm.
it's like being in resistance. It feels like being in like quicksand, and you're trying to get out, and the more you struggle in the quicksand, right, the more it pulls you down, and it's just not a fun place to be. And on top of that, I think, and you mentioned it, and I'd love to dive deeper into this because this is something that you also do, but this pressure to perform, this pressure to do it fast, this pressure to get there in to get to that six figures is still like such a big number for people. But at some point, six figures started to feel small or not enough because these big numbers are out there and we've been so inundated with this money marketing messaging,
Mm-hmm.
and it's used because it works. Like I always say, like people are like, oh, people should stop money marketing. And I'm like, well, then maybe you need to start investing in people that aren't money marketing. Because that's what drives it, right? Like it's consumer behavior. But reality is we rush and we want things to do fast. And what I have found being a very hands-on in the trenches with you kind of mentor that really gets in with you and assesses your business, the speed in which you can learn, whether you use a mentor or not, really depends on you. And it
Mm-hmm.
depends on how much you're starting with already, right? Like if you have to implement everything in your business,
Mm-hmm.
your offers, your pricing, your business model, your marketing message, your content, your audience building, like
Mm-hmm.
let alone your how you run things operationally, your finance, your automations, your back end, your like like I can go on and on and on. If you have to implement everything, there's like, yeah, could you do it in a few months? Sure. But do you have the capacity to do it, and does it actually serve you to move as fast, or do you push so much that by the time you actually get to launching an offer, you're already exhausted? And
Yeah.
I found that is something I see a lot. And so oftentimes, like what happens when clients come to me is that I'm like, let's slow down. Like, let's slow down for a second and really look at everything and get clear on what are all the things that need to happen and how can you move at a pace that's sustainable. Because when our nervous system is always like taxed and heightened and heightened and heightened, we become more and more unproductive. And I don't think people realize that on top of the things that you have to do, putting yourself out there again and again and again also is like a lot on your nervous system, right? Like to be a public, like a mini public figure, if you will, through your social media, like it takes a lot to put yourself out there. So we
Yeah.
have to learn to slow down and navigate it, because if we get to a point where we're so overtaxed, what I see people do is they freeze, they disappear, and all the work that they've put in sort of kind of fizzles out, and they can't get, like, they sort of start running, but then they can't sustain it. So the momentum that they're creating drops, because when it's ready to sort of harvest, they're like, I'm done. Like,
Yes. Yes. No, I totally, I mean, I'm smiling as you describe all of that because I'm certainly, I'm certainly guilty of this myself, having this knowledge and awareness around the nervous system when it came to evolving because I started in my implementation was from scratch. Like I came with my gifts. I came with, 15 plus years of experience with body optimization, nervous system, nutrition, all of these things. But in terms of um, bringing all of that into a business model was brand new to me. So, as you said, the implementation of so many moving elements that need to take place. And on top of that, if we are, you know, jumping ahead too fast, too soon, in whatever shape or form that looks like, investing in too fast, too many coaches, trying to do too many things, it is very jolting, and actually it sets you back and leaves you in it can leave you in slight resentment, you know? So, today I was actually having a conversation with a sister of mine that we were in a membership together for almost a year. And she was describing to me how she felt like she jumped so fast into an investment that she re-traumatized her nervous system herself again and again. And we were just, talking about it. She was looking back and we were reflecting on it. But also in the moment, I kind of had this, I'm going to tie this to Ayurveda because I love Ayurveda so much. And because it's so interlinked with the elements, the intelligence of the elements and how those elements pervade in our environment and in our bodies, in our lives. And we can actually connect this to those elements. So when we look at there's 3 doshas in Ayurveda, if you want to call it, to keep it simple: Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Now, to keep it super simple, each dosha consists of 2 elements. And the Vata is the one that consists of ether and air. Pitta is the one that consists of water and fire. And the Kapha is the one that consists of earth and water. Now, to make that more tangible, let's look at Vata, earth, ether and air. It's associated with movement. Anything that moves because of this intelligence. So when we look at the body, the nervous system, which sends messages, there's lots of movement going on. It's super fast, isn't it? It's like speed of lightning happening in your body and you're not even aware of it. It's all automatic. Thoughts that move, everything that moves in the body is governed by Vata. And the mind, which thinks, the thoughts move all the time. So then there's Pitta, which is governed by transformation because it's got the fire element and the water, and it's all about the digestion, how we process the food, how we even digest emotions, because that's what fire does. So if you put sort of a piece of paper into the fire, it will burn and turn into ashes. That's transformation. But it needs the water with it because too much fire would just burn everything. So that's why Pitta is fire and water together, because they balance each other out. Then we have Kapha, which is the earth and water, and it's governed by stability, heavy, slow. And if you look at land on the earth, if you look at your bones in your body, which creates structure, nothing would hold up if we didn't have a skeleton, right? So now let's connect this to all these experiences that we have. And this is my reflection into my own experience. So when I was exposed to all these things online, coaches, mentors, you got to invest in this, invest. And what happened was the mind wants to go there. Straight, fast track, move fast. And I do believe we need to move fast at certain points in our life, right? So that's Vata, movement, wanting to move and being sort of exposed to all this stimulation around you. But how well are you digesting what you're integrating? Pitta, the fire, and the stability. Do you feel stable enough to integrate that investment or that, that movement that you've just made? So this is when the nervous system starts to feel out of balance because you want to jump and go there. And you might be able to if you're equipped to it. Like you said, it depends on where you are. But then if you jump too soon, too much, and we destabilize the nervous system, that is actually the Vata dosha in your body going out of balance. And then it manifests as sleeping difficulties, anxiety, dry skin, being too sensitive to the environment, etc. So even when we're taking action in our leadership and businesses, I really do see how these elements and this intelligence plays a huge role. There's a time to move, there's a time to be slow and stable, and there's a time to really digest and process what you have taken in.
I love this so much. I think this is going to be so relatable to a lot of people listening. And I think that we've all been in this, like, in this, like, pull of being like, invest, 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 invest. Like, don't worry, like, just, throw money at it and you'll be fine. Like, and the reality of that is, can we handle all of the movement, right? Can we move as fast as we want to move? So we go with this urge and we go with what the mind wants, which is having everything now.
Mm-hmm.
But oftentimes we want the end result without all the effort, because the reality is we don't even have the capacity to do all the work in the short amount of time that we want to do to get there. So I love how you're comparing it to the free, and I love the questions that you asked. I should have written them down, but I think you're asking, like, if you're moving, is there also stability? If you're moving, is there also balance? Like, how are you, making sure that you're moving while also considering other aspects, so you're not just moving out of control? And as you were talking about this, and with this idea of the wind, I almost was thinking about, like, you know, we can turn into a tornado, but eventually a tornado
Mm-hmm.
stops. And when it stops, it leaves behind, like, a lot of things have come up and a lot of things have fallen, right? Like, the path that it's left behind isn't a pretty one. And so when we turn into a tornado in the way we move, it's almost like we're not considering anything else that's in the way right now. We're just like, I gotta move. And so what ends up happening is, I just saw this visual of all these things being fallen down, and now we kind of have to go to clean up the mess of it. And we might find ourselves still in the same place in our business, or in a different place with a whole bunch of new problems. Right? Like, it kind of depends, but most of the time I have found, talking to people and also having done this myself, where I would invest and invest and invest in so many programs and so
Yeah.
many things, I didn't even have the time to watch it all. There
Yeah.
was, like, I would invest and invest, and then I'd be like, wow, like, I paused at one point and I looked at it and I was like, wow, 70% of what I invested in, I didn't even finish watching. I, like, watched one module because I was like, I need this and I need that, and, like, I got caught in the movement, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, like, I bought all this and I don't know why, other than being like, as long as I invest, things grow. I was like, I was caught in that messaging that, if you invest, like, you have to invest for things to come in, basically. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to keep investing, like, that was
Mm-hmm.
really ingrained, that, like, if we're not investing, if we don't have mentors, then we can't grow. And that is such a bullshit story. Like, it's really not true. But in some ways I was caught in that vata, is that right? In the vata
Uh,
storm.
yes,
Vata,
in constant movement, the move.
constant.
And it's very, I mean, we live in a world today where we have more stimulation in the environment than usual. Or this is just automatic. This is just the modern day living. It's online, it's the phones, it's the noise, it's the news, it's the environment. So, on top of that, and we are exposed to more challenges in the environment than usual, you know. So on top of that, when we are sort of exposed to all of this movement online, and don't get me wrong, to a certain degree, I do believe we need to invest, and
Yes.
there's definitely a place for it. I have worked with some most amazing coaches and mentors, you know, that, especially my recent one was such a life-changing thing, because she was very much able to see my work and extract things in a way where I wouldn't have been able to do. Maybe I would have, but it might have taken me more time, or we have blind spots. So I actually love being mentored and coached. I'm very coachable and I love being mentored. But I think there's a place for knowing what to invest in, who to invest in, and a place to allow um, time to digest everything that's been received by the mentor. So giving that spaciousness, that space in and knowing when that is. So I think above everything else, what this journey has taught me again and again is I love this word, I use it a lot, is to be self referral. And perhaps we need to make those mistakes at the beginning, get caught up in that so we can learn from it. And I certainly got caught up in it. I did the same thing. And so now I look back and I've learned a lot, and we're having this conversation, which is great, isn't it? But these have been sort of reminders for me, is investing, digesting, but also allowing spaciousness, which is something again that's associated with vata. Sp- Air and ether is all about movement, but also spacious. And so, and allowing things to move in that space and really sit with things. And being self-referral is the most important thing for me in my leadership and entrepreneur journey, is to be self-referral. Sit back, feel into things and see how this applies to you. Does it apply to you? What if I try this out? You might try it out and it might not be for you. So, I mean, probably you're going to have a view on this as well. But I think at the beginning of our journey, there's a lot of trial and error as well, isn't there? It's like we're finding our ways into all the different moving elements.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is like when you've never been in business, you're going to have to expose yourself to a few things to
Hmm.
see what feels good. But I love your note on self referral, because I always bring it back to we've got to figure out in our business what feels good for us in terms of how we can show up. There's 1,000 ways, really, in which you can build your business. Not all those ways are right for you, and not all those ways will work for you. And the only way to figure it out is one, if you've never tried any of them, you gotta pick the ones that you feel resonate the most with you, right? So the self-referral piece I think is huge, which I certainly use in terms of like how can we create a business model that is actually unique to us, that works for us in the way we want to show up and share our gifts. And then we can try that. And maybe we try that, and down the road, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Maybe we realize we thought we liked it and we don't.
Yeah.
And it's okay to pivot. But I love too how you said invest, digest, and allow space. And I think that's great, right? Invest effort into also trust yourself you make the right choice. Invest in that choice, whether it's effort, whether it's time, whether it's money, right? Like whatever it is, invest in it, digest it, see how it feels for you. How does it land for you? How's it feeling in your body specifically? Because we know when things
Yeah.
don't feel good for you, forget the mind. Just sit back for a minute. Like, how does it feel for you to be in it? Like,
Yeah.
and then allow space and allow, for me, that spaciousness has become such a huge part of what I do. Like, I don't know how many times I said the word spaciousness, but I like my life is an embodiment of spaciousness, because
Mm.
for me that's vital in order to be able to serve the way I do. So, but also when we have space, things can come through. When we have silence and pauses, things can come through. When everything moves, like I can't, like when things move at 1,000,000 miles an hour and then somebody throws something else at me, I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't respond. I can't respond. And I've learned to also communicate that better. So I love this conversation. I feel like we could talk for hours. So tell me, where can my listeners find you? What's a good place to go to? And I know you also have a gift for us. So
Right.
I'd love for you to share that, and I'll drop both informations in the show notes as well. But where can we find you if we want more Azra in our life?
Yes, of course. So I'm on Facebook a lot. And I have a group, a free group that I have launched. I haven't opened the group yet, but my desire is to create this sort of community where women, female entrepreneurs can come to the group and we can talk about body optimization, nervous system, and just have this intimate space. So that's called the Empowered Leader Collective. You can join my group. I also recently launched a free guide called Mind, Body, Wisdom. And this is where, you can actually do a quiz where you can get to know your body type. Of course, it's like a glimpse into the work, but there's also lovely guidance there, what you can integrate and implement for your body type. And I'm also on Instagram. So these are the platforms that I'm utilizing at the moment. Yeah.
Hey, I love this so much. And your Instagram handle is
Azra Ladora.
at Azra Lodora. Super easy. Okay, amazing. I love this. So if you're listening and this has been inspiring, it certainly has inspired me. I can't wait to get my hands on this body, mind, wisdom um tool that you've like resource that you shared. I love that. Your guide. I'm really excited what that's about. And I love this that you're having a Facebook group that you're opening up as well, the Empowered Leader Collective. That's really beautiful. And I think us having these conversations as entrepreneurs is so important, and also to normalize. I think that will help all of us to like normalize that we've all been vata in a like hurricane going down the road, and
Yeah.
then we learn that it's okay to bring in the balance. It's okay to bring in stability. Like we don't need to move faster than our bodies can handle, right? Like it's okay to move at a pace that feels good for us, regardless of what we see out there, right? Like regardless of what it is. And I think the biggest thing that I have found on my journey, and that has been a theme that I see again and again, even when I was still a GM of a luxury boutique hotel, scaling that, honestly, slowing down speeds you up. If you really want to go fast, learn to go slow. Like if you really want to go fast, learn to go slow, learn to implement properly, learn to integrate properly, learn to do it at a pace that is good for you, good for your nervous system, good for your life, like good for your joy and your happiness and all the things. You will move faster in terms of the results that you can create than you ever would have moving faster.
Mm.
And I know that seems like an oxymoron, but that is what I found. That is what I've found with clients. Like if you're intentional, it's amazing what you can do. But Ezra, this was so amazing. What's one thing you'd like to give people on their journeys? Maybe a piece of advice, something that you want to share that's on your heart before we wrap up this amazing episode.
Yes. No matter where you are in your journey, it's the right place. It's the right pace, and be self-referral. Your body knows, like ask yourself, your body, your heart knows. That's it.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for joining me. This was such an amazing conversation. I know it's going to really land with a
Oh,
lot of people. So I can't wait for it to air. I can't wait to continue to be in each other's communities and see what we're up to, and to also explore some of the things that you have going. I really appreciate this conversation. It's very timely for me as I'm going through a time of like really making sure I maintain that balance while also banging my head against a wall, implementing tools.
yeah.
So it's really timely, and I just really appreciate your time. So thanks for being here on the podcast, and everyone will be back with more incredible episodes soon. Have the most amazing day, and we'll all chat soon.
Bye. Thank you.
Yeah.